Getting older is a funny thing. I started my YouTube channel with the express goal of producing Latent Regard, the name of which is a clever and funny play on the phrase blatant disregard, which, of course, you all realized. There are two simple rules for if I can review a game in Latent Regard. First, it has to be a game I've never played. Second, it has to have been out for over a year before I play it. You see, like most things that come out of my mouth, Latent Regard is an excuse. Specifically, an excuse to go back and play games that were in the zeitgeist of my generation that I missed out on for one reason or another. You know, it wasn't blatant disregard, it was only latent regard. And of course, life is complex, games are expensive, and I grew up at the height of the console war, so we all had to stay on our sides of the demarcation lines. We waged a gentleman's war. My last published Latent Regard was my review of Half-Life Alyx on October 26, 2025. I'm recording this on January 21st, 2026. That's a whole 3 months between videos, and that's a release schedule that does not grow one's audience. For reference, I had a great big plan after that video. I started producing a Latent Regard on a way out. I started Titanfall 2 for the next video after that. Afterward, I was going to jump into Dark Souls 2. All this while, I was working on writing a novel, which is a requirement of everyone in their late 30s. And then, I just stopped. I stopped working on all my videos. I played all of 3 hours of Titanfall 2. I abandoned work on my second draft of my novel mid-chapter. I then spent all of November and December playing Pokemon Legends ZA and Metroid Prime 4 or catching up on my reading. Here's the thing. While the series exists as a way to dive into my backlog, I do like playing contemporary games. I do make the odd contemporary video, but it's kinda not the point. I could make videos on both games if I wanted. The problem was just life. I'm married, I'm a dad, I have a full-time job. For those in the same position, the holiday season provides some extra stressors on one's time, and after going hard for several months, I was burned out. I even took a hiatus from running the D&D game I GM, so I abandoned my creative efforts for the sake of resting to preserve my bandwidth for other things. Sound familiar? You see, I mentioned before that I'm currently writing a novel. That wasn't hyperbole, I actually am. Thing is, that's not really a new thing for me. I've always been a creative sort. I grew up acting, drawing, playing music, and I'm pretty much always writing something. Like most young creatives, though, I got to the verge of adulthood and stared into the ravenous, empty, unfeeling eyes of real life, and I blinked. I gave up on my art, I got a real job, I started a family, and for a decade I was a good, responsible adult who, like generations of good, responsible adults before me, buried all my passions so they couldn't get in the way of pesky work and obligations and held them all down with copious amounts of alcohol. Yay. Manliness. Several things reconnected me to my artistic side. Sobriety, for one. Parenthood, for two. Becoming a DM, for three. A clear head, someone to set an example for, and a means of creative expression that very much harkened back to my acting days, breathed new life into something that I thought I had drowned long ago. DMing led me to starting my novel. Wanting to be a better writer led me to writing video game reviews as comedic writing exercises. And no exercise is valuable unless you can measure your results, so that led to producing and publishing scripted videos on YouTube. So what happened at the end of the year was I got disconnected from the core of why I make videos. I do it for me. To be creative, to be funny, to put something that one might charitably call art into the world. I think, all told, I made the task too large for myself, and when something in my life once again needed to give to make room for other things, it was art that gave way. I don't want that to happen again, so I'm making the choice not to let it. That choice means making some changes to my video series and perhaps loosening my restrictions. Maybe I will start making videos on new games. Maybe I'll make more junk like this. I don't know. It's possible I'll relax my rules about when I played a game or if I've played it before. Lately, I've been thinking about going back and replaying Pokemon Heart Gold and Pearl. I'd also like to replay Resident Evil 7 and 8 ahead of the release of 9 here in the coming months, and it'd be nice to be able to do videos on those too, rather than having to split my incredibly limited time between recreational gaming and gaming for the purposes of content creation. It does sort of violate the spirit of why I started the series, but if my rules have made it so I can't make videos at all, I have to ask myself whether or not they're serving me anymore. Either way, what I do know is that, going forward, I'm going to make sure not to lose sight of why I do this. To create something. To entertain. To feel, even for the smallest moment, like an artist, and not just a 40-year-old gamer who gave up on my dreams. You guys get your fill of all that classic millennial ennui? Got more in the fridge if you want seconds.